Oh, so excited. Hello, everybody. This is Tish Gentili. I recently changed my name from Tish Ambrose to Tish Gentili. And I'm a life and business coach, and I help you to awaken your inner badass so you're creating that life and business that you love. And I am so excited. I have a treat for you guys because I have the author of one of my favorite books on the law of attraction, Andrew Cap, here, who's been very gracious. Thank you for joining us, Andrew. And we've already been chatting and really connecting. So I'm super excited to present some of the information that Andrew has for you guys today. So, Andrew, welcome to the Inspire Weekly show. And I want to just do a brief formal introduction and then we're going to get into some goodies, okay?
Sure, and thanks so much for having
So,
me, by the way.
I'm grateful. I have to say you took the time. So Andrew Cap holds one goal above all others through his various projects, genuine and sustainable impact. I love that, Andrew. His latest offering, The Last Law of Attraction book you'll ever need to read, offers readers a never before seen understanding of the topic that no other LOA book has ever been able to do. By going the extra mile of finally addressing why people who get excited about trying it still can't manage to get in the habit of using these methods for even just 5 minutes a day. The book has enjoyed continued success, including over 1,600 of five-star rave reviews. Wow. Number one bestseller status in multiple categories on Amazon and a growing YouTube channel devoted to it, which I love your channel, by the way. It's
Thank you.
awesome. So welcome, Andrew. It's so good to have you here. And let's just dive right in because we've been chatting.
Awesome.
What inspired you to write this book?
Well, it's interesting. There's a really long backstory. I'll try to go give like a quick version because I learned about the law of attraction back in 2004. And I was just a young, struggling entrepreneur trying to find, some positive mindset, some positive modality to get my life in order and get that success, that ever elusive success. And for me, believe it or not, law of attraction was one of many. And it was hit or miss for me. It was some successes, some failures, because I kind of viewed it as very unreliable. And I'd find out later I was the one who was unreliable. And I had a rough week, a really rough week, a couple years later in 2008, where I basically lost my business and my girlfriend of 3 years, all in the same week. And I basically had to look in the mirror and say, okay, something's not working in my life. And I had this weird epiphany and moment of stubbornness and indignation where it's like, listen, that law of attraction thing, whenever I actually did it and didn't stop, because I did do it and I got results and I stopped like an idiot. Whenever I didn't stop, it actually was doing something. And you know what? Something's got to change. I don't care what happens, when it happens, why it happens. I don't care about any of that. I'm going to go all in with this thing. And by all in, I don't mean all day, every day, because I understood myself enough to know that that was not sustainable, no matter how angry I was. But I was motivated enough to finally do those 5 or maybe even 10 minutes a day of gratitude processes or visualization exercises or whatever it might be. And the moment I committed to that, it's almost like a movie. The results were miraculous. 2 weeks later, I felt better, which is saying a lot with a broken heart. 3 months later, I'm over my ex and in a brand new, way healthier relationship. 4 months later, I'm making more money than any point in my life before then. And 6 months later, everything's different. I'm in the best shape of my life. Everything's running on all cylinders. I even had a period where, like, over probably around 7 weeks, I lost 25 pounds without trying. I was taking inspired action, by the way. I wasn't just sitting around envisioning it, but I wasn't trying to lose the weight. I was just like going through my life. So that's a whole different story. But really what I'm saying here is things just unfolded so seamlessly and effortlessly. And I basically learned, not through a book, not through a guru, not through a mentor, not through anyone else, but through my own personal life experience, that this law of attraction thing, whatever it is, it works if you work it. And it was only like 11 years later where I wanted to make a new choice and decision in my business. Like, what can I do that's new that I'll be excited to chat with my readers and my customers? To be candid, I won't get bored. I'll be engaged in the whole process. I can talk about it every day and have a good time. And that's when I gave myself permission. Like, okay, I'll write a book, but I've got to write a book that actually contributes something to the space, because there's like 1,000, literally, law of attraction books. So like my attitude is, if you can't say something new and if you can't bring something new to the table, there's no point. Hence me like this title and this really ambitious promise and this really bold goal of making it something that finally shifts paradigms for people in a way that they give themselves enough permission to use these methods the way I use them for myself, the way I use it for myself. And then it won't be me or the book that teaches them. Just like me, it'll be their life experience that teaches them. And then they'll be empowered from that point on to do it for themselves.
Wow, that is so powerful on so many levels. One, that you're a product of the product, and you actually made this work for you, but then you found methods and these techniques in here that we were talking prior to this interview that are so fun to do and so easy and enjoyable. And we'll talk about the ego in a minute here, that it's sustainable, that it doesn't feel like a chore. It doesn't feel like, oh my God, I got to get up and do this thing so I can have this thing. It's literally like I was saying, he talks about ice cream in there, which I'd love for you to describe, but it's like having ice cream every day. And somebody's saying congratulations, Andrew, on here in the comments. So
thank you to whoever that is. Thank you.
yes, yeah. One of the things that I loved about how you described why we sabotage the law of attraction. The other day I was in a women's group and she was complaining that the law of attraction wasn't working for her. And I thought, isn't that sad that, there's a lot of people out right now struggling with the state of the world. That's why we're here, you and I, to bring light, to bring some awareness. But, and that was me, Andrew. I struggled with the law of attraction as well, even though I was being mentored by Bob Proctor and I had wonderful coaches and all this. Part of the reason I believe, or maybe that was my egoic excuse, was trauma, from the past, which I'd love to talk to you about in a little bit. But I would love for you to talk about, why is it that we know these techniques work? Why have we tried it? And we saw some action and saw some manifestations, and then we stopped doing it. We sabotaged. Can you tell the listeners why that is?
Yeah, well, I'm sure, first of all, it's pretty clear that I'm not a clinical psychologist or a therapist or anything like that. So these terms I use, I'm using them liberally in that, these are my definitions. But the way I describe it in my book and the way I see it is, we've got three minds. We've got our conscious mind and we've got our subconscious mind. But right in the middle, we have what I define as the ego. People define egos in different ways, but the ego, as I define it, is that one part of your mind that it's way stronger than the conscious, but nothing compared to the subconscious, fortunately. And it only has one job, and that's to keep you alive. And that's really important, because that means wherever you are in your life, any money problems, relationship problems, even health problems, your ego's like, okay, well, my person is alive. Everything's working out because they're alive. There's nothing to be done for it. So when we take measures or steps to improve our life, according to the ego, it's not the improvement, it's the change. It cannot predict what might happen when we have a change in our circumstances, even a good one. It can't predict the survivability probability for us. So, for example, someone listening right there, they might want to be rich and famous. And for all your ego knows is, when you become famous, you're going to get a stalker. And that's a threat to your survival. So let's not risk any of that. For all your ego knows is, when you get a lot of money in your pocket, all of a sudden, family's going to come out of the woodwork, distant family you've never met, and they're going to sue you for your house. And that's another threat to your survival. So your ego actually loves you, and it's a misguided attempt to protect you, but it's going to use your fears, your uncertainties, your doubts, anything it can do to keep you stuck in place. Because according to the ego, and I've never said this before, it's not keeping you stuck in place, it's keeping you safe in place. And with that understanding, it's one of those things like, okay, well, we know this now, and the ego is stronger than the conscious mind, which is why you get talked out of working out, why you get talked out of doing these law of attraction methods, why you get talked out of whatever change in your life you should be making, whatever steps you should be taking. But to go a little deeper, even though you haven't asked us yet, what's the solution? What's the answer? And the answer is, let's bypass the ego. Let's access the way more powerful subconscious mind, and let that do the heavy lifting. Whether, depending on your beliefs, that heavy lifting is sending out that strong magnetic vibrational thought frequency to the universe to invite better things, or being the supercomputer that it is, governing your actions and behaviors and mindset that leads you more towards the things that you want, or what I believe is a combination of both. But you bypass it, you access the subconscious mind with simple gratitude or visualization methods. Just by taking those few minutes out a day and engaging in that thought or feeling process, you're going past the ego effortlessly. It's doing the work for you. And then the subconscious mind will do the heavy lifting for you from there.
I totally agree. Like I've tried all the methods that you have here, and that's exactly what I found that happens. One of my favorite is the gratitude stacking and the time lapse with the
Mm.
gratitude. I just think that's super powerful. And as I'm trying the techniques in your book, I can feel that there's no resistance. The way that you've designed it, even the way you describe them in the book, is just like, oh, this is fun. This is easy. This is enjoyable. So I totally agree that, you know, Bob Proctor calls it a paradigm or a program in your subconscious mind, ego. I think they're all the same thing, honestly, in a way. But it's that part of your mind that's keeping you safe. One thing that, because a lot of people right now may be struggling financially, and you mentioned that your ego may be trying to keep you safe because if you make money, something will happen, right? And I found the protecting your money exercise in here really valuable for me
No, protecting the
because,
prize, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
because in my family history, my family members lost all their money. Like they at one time had a good amount, would say they were multimillionaires, but there's this ancestral history, right? And at some point when I was doing my writing and my journaling, I realized I had that fear that, like, I knew I could manifest money, but then what if I couldn't hang on to it, right? And you hear about people losing their money. So I thought it was brilliant how you led the exercise into the next step, which a lot of visualization and a lot of these type of things don't do, is the after the wedding, right? What's going to happen? So tell us a little bit about that. Like,
Mhm.
how did you come up with that strategy or that exercise?
Yeah, thank you for that compliment, by the way. And the interesting thing, like all these methods, I mean, versions of these methods are all over the place. I mean, I can't. I'd have to go through the book and tell you which ones I came up all by myself without anything. But a lot of the methods are me finding a certain method and then just tweaking it to make it more powerful, more effective, or most importantly, more enjoyable to do, so that I can be consistent with it. So what we're talking about here is. Um, One thing I've understood that I've experienced myself and that other people have reported is people tell themselves, whether they're correct or not, they tell themselves that they can't visualize, or that they can't visualize very easily. And part of that is because sometimes we have this very linear way of doing it where you have to feel the feelings of what it might be like, which you don't know because in that moment, you don't know what it's going to feel like because you're not there yet. But if you can put yourself in the place of the future, where you don't have to assign a specific emotion to it because there could be any emotion, there's a freedom, there's a releasing of those binds and those limits that you give yourself permission. So the whole thing about coming from a place of already having it and it already being the future is you're just relaxing all those usual limits that your ego that you don't realize is putting in place for you. So the whole thing about like protecting the prize, like I said in the book, that was inspired by a UFC fighter who, she had a sports psychologist that walked her through the visualization process of winning the title, but he also walked her through the process of defending the title because it's a new, more empowered version of this. It's a version where you're not becoming the person that you want to be. You already are the person. You've already been there. And I think the beauty of this is we don't realize, most people don't acknowledge we have access to that level of emotion, that level of feeling, but also there's no requirement. Again, if you win the lottery, what's it like 10 minutes after? Well, you don't know. You might be super excited. You might be elated. You might be relaxed. You might be at ease. And since you don't know the specific emotion, you have a freedom to feel whatever emotions you want without worrying that you're not doing it perfectly, which is just another thought from the ego. Like, if you're not doing it perfectly, you might as well not do it at all. So I don't remember how I came up with that specifically, but it was more with the understanding of what places can I go, both intellectually and emotionally, that free me from the binds of that status quo that most people encounter when they're trying to find the exact moment that they're getting what they want.
And you could apply that to a relationship. Let's say people been hurt, and so they may be visualizing having the relationship, but deep in their subconscious, they're thinking, oh, well, what about after the wedding, right? What about what's going to happen later? And so when you use these techniques, you can also use it for the aftermath, for the years later, for, your lifetime or what, however you want to do it. But I don't know if you know Genevieve Moran. She wrote a book called Your Invisible Power.
Hmm.
It's a really powerful book, and I wanted to kind of pick your brain on this. So she says, when you create your image, make sure the image is complete. And I always tell my clients about my new hardwood floor story, because years ago in my home, I wanted new floors. The carpet was old, and I was like, okay, I'm going to visualize new hardwood floors. But I didn't visualize the complete scene, having it being paid for, having it, come in an easy way, and blah, blah, blah. So what happened was I got a slab leak and I got new hardwood floors, but it cost me $5,000. And, I got it, but I didn't get it in the way that I wanted to. So, what do you think about that? What do you think about keeping the image complete, looking at it from all different angles? Is that too much of a control thing from the ego, would you say?
So the number one governing thing, in my opinion, for all this is how you feel when you're doing whatever you're doing. Meaning, I would say that complete picture is very valuable only in so much as it doesn't feel like you're forcing it. There's an ease to the image of it being complete. I think to whatever measure you can see the completion on all levels without it feeling forced, without it feeling like a burden or a chore, do it. But to any extent that you feel stress or feel like it's difficult, well, then you don't realize it, but you're actually going in reverse of what you want. And what I like to do, because, like, you hear things like be complete, be clear, all these things, which I'll agree with, but to the measure that you're not ready to do it yet, part of my strategy, this is why I say do 5 minutes of gratitude or visualization every single day, because when you're doing that, in addition to whatever these things of completion or whatever it might be, you are setting the tone, you're building the momentum, you're constructing and nurturing the vibration of a level of ease where things are just happening good for you, like they're in good fortune for you. Meaning, I believe, and by the way, I could be wrong, this is just a theory and certain things on life experience. But when you're feeling gratitude every day for just 5 minutes a day, and then you have any kind of level of completion of those, the floor wood or whatever it might be, it's just going to evolve or unfold in a better, easier way for you. And we were saying before we hit the record button, another cool thing about this is sometimes you actually don't even realize the value and power of these 5 minutes a day, because you will bypass a lot of bad things, but you'll never know that you bypassed them because you never encountered them because you were already at a higher level. So, long-winded response to that: be as clear and complete as you can, as long as it's not stressing you out or making it feel like hard work. And in order to get a little extra sauce on that, on that dinner there, do the 5 minutes a day of gratitude or visualizations, and whether any time of day, to make the overall momentum a lot healthier, so that no matter what happens, it's always going to unfold in hopefully an easier way for you.
I love that so much. And you have an analogy in the book of skating through smooth pavement or rough pavement, right? So the gratitude helps you to skate through the smoother pavement. Um, but what I wanted to ask you is, perhaps that visualization of the hardwood floor may have been coming from a place of lack, then, if that was the manifestation, right?
It's
Which
possible.
brings about a good point, that when we are visualizing, when we want to manifest, we don't want to be coming from that place. I talk about this with my clients, from not being enough, or when I get this, I'm going to be complete, and when I have that relationship, I'm going to be happy. It has to be from a different place. So can you describe to everybody, because I think a lot of people are visualizing from a place of lack. So how would you counterbalance that?
Yeah. So first thing I would say, like, one of the things I love to mention or love to say is I love to tell people that joy is a strategy.
Mm,
And what I mean by that is we often look at joy or happiness or whatever it might be as this far off distant thing. It's off out it's out there. It's not here, it's out there. Meaning we're trying to get those the floors or that job or that relationship so that we can finally be happy. And I'd say, okay, well, when you instead decide to use joy as a strategy, and rather than the big grand dramatic joy, but little pockets of joy, pockets of gratitude, pockets of ease, giving yourself those few minutes a day where you just like, you take a nice deep breath in, you look around, you see what you already have and you're being grateful for it. Then you're enjoying the journey on the way to the destination, but the journey already has embedded within it joy. So by that same token, I'm not saying that you did this, but someone else might be thinking of their floors, and they're as they're visualizing, they don't even realize they're stressed, they're frustrated, they're impatient. They're already thinking about like, oh, I want this, but they're already thinking of how they're not going to be able to afford it. Whereas, strategically, I'd say, okay, let's not worry about that. Let's worry about a scenario where you're just painting the picture for someone else of what it's really like to enjoy the floors. What is it like, talk about the situation where you're having a party over and people are complimenting it. Talk about how, it doesn't make your feet too cold in the winter and doesn't make them too warm in the summer. Talk about like the actual experience of enjoying your life when that floor, when whatever that scenario is included. So again, another long-winded answer from me, but I think again, sometimes people visualize and it's like they're trying to force the universe to bend to their will. And then, by the way, then they wonder why it's not working. It's because, and people, it drives them nuts when I say this, but you're not supposed to do the method to get the result. Because when you're doing the method to get the result, you're doing the method with the consciousness of the lack of the result. You're focusing on the lack of the result. You are reaffirming and creating or recreating the lack of the result. Whereas instead, you do the method for the sake of enjoying the method in the moment, and then indirectly that'll bring the result. But it's so important that you actually enjoy yourself in that moment. Otherwise, you don't realize it. You are not only staying stuck in place or safe in place for the ego, you're actually going backwards. You're keeping it further and further away from you, which, by the way, is only increasing your frustration because time is marching on. The years are turning into decades, literally. You're like, where's my stuff? And you're even more upset than you were when you first started. So that makes it feel even harder, which makes you force even more when all this time hiding in the background, hiding in the secret little formula is just enjoy the method for the sake of enjoying the method and enjoy your life to whatever measure you can in the meantime. Because when you get that thing that you want, you're always going to want something afterwards, and then afterwards, and then afterwards. The question becomes, how are you feeling in the meantime? Because when you think about it, if there's always going to be something that you want, you are perpetually forever in the meantime. So the best thing you can do strategically to whatever measure you can in the moment is enjoy the meantime to whatever level you can while you're living it through it.
I absolutely love that so much. And I have written on my notes here laughter really big because that is one of my strategies for joy. And my mom years ago was like, you could be in the worst moments of your life, and then all of a sudden you'll start laughing about something and you'll find something funny in the most stressful moments. And I'm like, yeah, that's how I bring joy in. That's how I raise my vibration, you could say. And I love laughing, right? It's just fun. It reduces the resistance too that we have maybe in those situations. But I don't think that we've been taught to have joy along the way. I think for most people, we've been taught we're like the carrot, what is it? The horse with the carrot. And we're always living in some future time, right? And there's this sense of dissatisfaction that you see all around the planet. So I for sure that's why I love your gratitude practices in there. What do and I know you have a meditation in there. I know for me, meditation is huge for releasing a lot of the resistance, for bringing in more joy, for just connecting with my essence of who I am. Because I think that we create better also when we're living from our essence and not our false self. Or does that make sense what I'm saying to you?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
just, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Oh, no, go ahead. I was done.
Well, no, I was going to say, like, even one thing I think about as you're describing that is, we are in this perpetual state of dissatisfaction with, whether it's intentional or inadvertent. I mean, there's a combination of things, but it is the way things play out. Like, movies aren't really interesting if it's just a person, like, sitting on their patio, enjoying their life, petting their dog, like, oh, isn't this great? That's not a very interesting movie. Therefore, they don't make those movies. The movies that they make are, even feel good movies. It's still like the comeback story. And they reaffirm constantly that even before you get to the good, you have to go through the bad. Think of like one movie with a dramatically happy ending where the person still didn't suffer to get through it. And we are not even realizing that we're having these images fed in our mind, which technically, when you think about them, we're saying, okay, I have to, whether I realize it or not, I have to walk myself through this little horrible experience. So that's how I'm going to get true love. I have to get my heart broken first. I have to lose that job first. I have to be rejected by my family first. Like, we don't even realize we have these images rolling around our mind, which, guys, don't freak out. It's not the end of the world. All I say, like, in response to the understanding that we've been programmed in that way, we just want to be very intentional about programming ourselves in a more affirmative way, which again is simply just 5 minutes a day of gratitude or visualization. Because, as I'm sure many people know listening to this interview already, positive thoughts and emotions are so much more powerful than negative ones. So just those 5 minutes alone will create a really dramatic beginning of momentum. It'll be that snowball that just rolls down and gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And things really will get better. And it'll be those things where there'll be subtle indicators that things are getting better and dramatic ones. And you never know which one it's going to be. And I'd advise people not to worry about what's going to come. Don't look for that big dramatic happy ending. If it comes, it comes, but maybe it's going to be a not so dramatic happy ending. That moment when you're out on your patio and you're at ease and, you're petting your dog and you're breathing easy and your money problems are solved and you're with the person you love. It might not be sunset time. You might not have that beautiful sunset. Who cares? It's like, all right, so you did it at 3 p.m. instead. Are you not happy? Should you not be happy at 3 p.m.? Do you always have to wait for sunset? It's like we don't even realize that we're always waiting. I think I say the worst 4 words you could put together, some of the worst 4 words are "I'll be happy when." It's like, no, be happy now to whatever measure you can be, with the understanding and invitation that more happiness can come in due time in new circumstances.
I love that. And I am in complete agreement with that. And I would say I probably in my life have felt like I had been programmed that I had to validate my existence and my results with struggle and hard work.
Yeah.
And then we're taught the hero's journey. I don't know if you know Joseph Campbell's hero's journey.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like you described in movies. It's always like, yeah, there has to be struggle and there has to be horrible things that happen, and then you get your prize. Right? And that's so deeply embedded into our subconscious mind. And so I love that there's a different way we can do this, guys. It doesn't have to be hard, and it doesn't have to be a struggle. One of the things that I've, luckily because of the coaching community that I'm in, I've been around a lot of very successful people, and I wanted to kind of ask you about this. And somebody who manifested $7 million in 1 year and has had quantum leaps. One of the things that she says is that you cannot pay attention to what is your present circumstances. And you mentioned that in your book. So I would love to pick your brain on that a little bit more, because I've been coaching women for 10 years now. And what I've noticed is that the people that really quantum leap are the ones that do not like to talk about and observe and dwell in what is, but they're really feeling the vibrations of what they want to achieve, and that vision, the goals, and all that. So, what are your thoughts on that about observing what is?
Right. Well, you talk about these people making their quantum leap, and this, of course, is only my theory because I'm not speaking from their personal
Yeah.
experience. But what they've really done is they've intuitively, or with the help of a mentor, they've put themselves in a good feeling place. That whole thing about being future, that's just another way of saying obviously their future felt good to them. They've been focused in that way. So, I mean, the thing about dwelling in the what is, I think that's another way of wording of dwelling in the what is that you're not happy about, which is another way of dwelling in the things that you don't like and being unhappy with it. And obviously, just from a strategic standpoint, it doesn't serve you. I think it only serves you well enough to make a new decision of what you want instead, and then it's done its part. Now, that doesn't mean don't be a realist and ignore your bills. No, handle your bills, but handle it with the understanding that, okay, you know, amazing things happen to people all the time. And guess what? I'm a person. There is no logical reason. Everyone says like there's no logical reason why something great would happen. There's no logical reason why something great wouldn't happen or can't happen. It happens to people. I don't even know the figure, but there are so many more millionaires in this world than people could ever begin to imagine. And I
Yes.
guarantee you that at least 90% of those millionaires don't feel like they have enough money. 90% of those millionaires they're struggling. So this whole thing about, being stuck in the present moment, I hear that. I just hear wording of stuck in the sense that you're observing what you don't like about the present moment. You're dwelling on it, which is keeping your focus there, which is keeping you from doing what you should do, which again, you say like, what can I do strategically to serve me better? Take at least certain time of day in a way that I'm focusing on the future stuff, the good feeling stuff, and inviting that, and not coming from a place of, I have to figure everything out, coming from a place of, I'll take inspired action. Like me, again, I lost 25 pounds in 7 weeks. I was working out with Sensei. I wasn't doing nothing, but I wasn't trying to lose weight. I didn't even look at the scale until somebody
Mm.
said my jaw was looking chiseled at a party, and I was curious. I'm like, all right, let's see what and I look at the scale. I'm like, oh my God, where did this come from? I was just trying to feel better about myself. I was just trying to get healthy. I wasn't trying to lose weight, but it came off effortlessly through my process because I wasn't worried about it. I was really I was positively focused on something else. I think people need to realize that when you do that, there's a lot of aspects in your life that will autocorrect that you won't even realize when it happens. You'll look back later on like, wow, X, Y, and Z resolved themselves. I didn't even realize it happened because I was so busy doing something else.
Yeah, because everything is attached to everything else. Everything's connected to everything else. And I think that at least that's what I've experienced is when one belief or when one egoic kind of need to hang on to something gets let go, it's like a string sometimes of things that other things get let go of, if that even makes any sense. But I love it. So like when you lost, because I have clients right now that want to lose weight. When you lost the 25 pounds, did you have an end image of how you wanted to look? Or were you just focusing on feeling good and enjoying exercise and being healthy? What
So
was your process?
here's the funny thing that might frustrate these people listening, right? That want to do this, but hopefully it'll actually illuminate things for them. There was no focus on improving that part of my life other than the work I was putting in. But because every day I was focusing and feeling good about other things, and like you said, everything's connected, it auto corrected for me. The important thing to me actually wasn't about focusing on that positive body image. It was the fact that I wasn't focusing on the negative body image. I wasn't stuck in that place.
Mm,
I
yeah.
was more concerned, like for me, the stuff that I was doing more intentionally was the money stuff. That was the part that hit me really hard, and the relationship stuff. So me, like I used my time lapse method a lot around the feeling of money, around the category of money. It felt really good, so I felt good every day. Universe already knew that I wanted to be in shape. So while it was giving me that extra little money boost, it gave me that also because I was not resisting. I wasn't even worrying about it. So again,
Yeah.
take this with a grain of salt because it's not like I'm currently not like a weight loss expert or anything, but I would say that for me, I wasn't really focusing that much. But if someone said, hey, Andrew, maybe I want to focus in that way, I would come from the place of what can I do to future pace this, to envision anything that feels good that doesn't feel impossible. Like if I were to picture a version of my body that just felt too impossible to get to, well, then that's probably going to frustrate me. It's going to take me out of the zone that I want to be in. So if I am going to go down that road and I am going to use intentional focus regarding my body, I'm going to use segments of improvement that are believable in any time span. And I'm probably not even going to put a deadline on it because deadlines work for certain people, but not for me. And I say, if a deadline works for you, go for it. But if it doesn't work, don't do it, because a deadline, if it doesn't work for you, it just adds this pressure. Imagine you give yourself 30 days to lose a certain amount of weight. Well, then 2 days pass, you haven't lost any weight because you're watching the scale every day. And now there's this pressure on you, this unnecessary pressure. It's like, no, let's get rid of the deadlines. Let's just feel good and move forward in the moment, because technically, and this is just me, you're not doing this to lose the 30 pounds. You're doing this to get healthier. And through being healthier, you're going to feel better and you'll probably lose 40 pounds. But, don't me, I'm not so constricted about that goal. I'm more about of open-ended, inviting positive changes, being more focused on just health and well-being for my body. And PS, I mean, for guys, sometimes it's different. I'm not even worried about losing weight. I'm worried about replacing fat with muscle. So,
Yeah.
maybe I don't need to lose 20 pounds. I need to convert pounds so that I lose 10, but more of that fat becomes muscle. Food for thought.
So brilliant, Andrew. And you brought up a good point that, first of all, timelines don't work for me either. I've tried them so many times, and I feel like it's constricting me in a box, and it actually stresses me out.
Me too.
But what you said about the weight loss is more not, it's more taking your focus out of what you're not loving about your body and the weight and all that, and just taking that focus to a whole different place of just feeling good, being healthy. And it's so much easier that way than trying to, is sometimes for me in the past, changing beliefs have felt like I'm trying to put this square peg in this round hole, and I'm forcing this belief and repetition, write it like a million times, and all this stuff. And it felt like work. It felt like effort. And I don't feel that way when I'm doing the exercises in your book. It feels fun. It feels like creation,
Thank you.
expansion, all of those things. So it's brilliant. There was one thing that I wanted to talk about. We talked about what is, and we talked about, oh, I know. You mentioned in the book that impatience is one of the biggest reasons why people don't manifest what they want. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, even the thing with, we were talking about deadlines before.
Hmm.
The thing about, well, I'll put it this way, and it's almost going to indirectly address it. Notice, like, even when I talk about like my story, what I went through, and I had this attitude of like, I don't care what happens, when it happens, how it happens, why it happens. I don't care about any of that. Through not caring about that part, I released these requirements and these limits and constrictions. And the thing about it is, when you are being impatient, you're trying to force things to happen on a timeline that might not serve you well. And the cool thing is, not that this happens every single time, but very often, very frequently, when you let go of the time which something's going to happen, and you also find a way of letting go how it's going to happen, you will often be pleasantly surprised with the speed and the quality with which you get it. Those people that, you want to lose 30 pounds in X number of days. If you actually didn't worry about the number of days, you'd probably end up losing more weight faster, and you'd feel a lot better. You'd be making a lot healthier decisions around that. I'm a UFC fan. I watch UFC fights. They lose weight in 2 days by doing, they do a weight cut. It's very unhealthy. They dehydrate themselves. It's not something we recommend, but they get the weight off. And then what they do is a smart thing. After they do the weigh-in and they've qualified for their weight class, they hydrate back up and they get back to their weight. Like, there's ways of losing weight that are unhealthy. And I think it's important, since we're just on that topic, there's ways of getting more money that's unhealthy. There's ways of attracting a relationship that are unhealthy. There's ways of doing all these things that are unhealthy, one of which I believe is having impatience. And I believe instead the healthier approach is not to worry so much. And I get it. Listen, all these things, I'm not speaking from this mountain up on high. I'm speaking from someone who's had personal experience with this, just like everyone else. I wasted my 20s trying to work this out. So I understand what it feels like to waste a decade of this, of my life. I get this part. So when I say this and I say, please, get some patience, it's not coming from an impersonal place where I don't get it. No, I do get it, which is why I'm saying find a way to be happy to whatever measure you can in the meantime, and be as open-ended as you can about those things coming, because strategically speaking, that's going to bring the best result for you, probably in a way that you couldn't imagine, and hopefully in a way that's faster than you would have imagined also.
I was thinking this morning, because I knew we were going to talk about how I've manifested the big things in my life. And here's how I've done it. I'll say, wouldn't it be nice if blah, blah, blah happens? And then I don't think about it again. Like I
Mm,
literally, trips have happened like that. My home that I bought, I was like, wouldn't it be nice to live in this neighborhood? And I was like, I wonder what people do to be able to live in this neighborhood. And then I didn't stress. I didn't need to live in the neighborhood. I didn't have a timeline to live there. You know, this is like the wouldn't be nice technique is like my technique that I have to keep reminding myself. And it's that letting go of needing the outcome. And it works. It
Yeah.
works like you mentioned, in ways that you'd never even imagine. Like, for example, one time I wanted to go out to a trip to Costa Rica. And the trip came in the most amazing way. It only cost $900 and it was this phenomenal trip for like 10 days, right? I personally could have never imagined all of that, right? But I thought about it. I felt good. I was like, wouldn't it be nice? And then I just let it go. So, my question to you is, with people desperate, like let's go back to the money because a lot of people listening to this may need this.
Mhm.
What if your bills are piling up? What if you need to manifest money very quickly? How do you suggest that people just let go so that it can come into their life, in an
Yeah.
easy?
So there's no easy answer when you think about it, because the most challenging thing is if these people are in dire straits, or it's right there in front of them.
Yeah,
I would say this: whether you do something perfect today or tomorrow, or you don't, that money issue in the moment is there right now. So let's take that for granted. Okay, it's there right now. What do you have control to do? What are you empowered? Like, where do you have agency in the confines of this? And um, I'm not even promising an immediate fix, but even in the most dire of money situations, whatever you can do, to whatever measure you can, to escape for 5 or 10 minutes and do some kind of gratitude exercise, whether it's around money or something else. And if nothing else, it's just giving you a break from that nonsense. So it's almost like a thing where, how do I think about this? It's kind of like, I don't know how many football fans there are there, but you know, sometimes you pass the ball and sometimes you run the ball, right? And sometimes you run that ball for a loss. Like, you run and the defense pushes you back. But at no point in the football game, even when you're behind in score, at no point you go, you know what? Let's not run a play. Let's pack it up and go home. It's like, no, you're being paid millions of dollars, and everyone's here, everyone's watching, right? It's like they still run their plays. And what I mean by that is, even when things are bad, you want to run your plays in the meantime, no matter what's going on. And running your plays means, as ridiculous as it might sound to some people and as wise as it might sound to other people, it means taking that time out to be as grateful as you can in the moment for a few minutes a day, to begin the momentum, even in the middle of this bad situation. Again, you're talking to someone who lost his business and their girlfriend all in the same week and was like, what do I do now? Well, all I could do was get really stubborn and really indignant. And by the way, in the course of trying to improve things, it's not like I didn't take inspired action. I took inspired action, but no matter what I did, I took those couple minutes a day to go through those methods, and it fueled me. I believe it also fueled the universe. I believe it fueled my subconscious mind, but it also fueled me. When you're doing that, you're going to have a certain level of energy and intensity and focus and better ideas that will help you sort through that debt in a better way. Again, you can either say, okay, this really sucks right now and just deal with it.
yeah,
Or you could say, this really sucks right now. Let me do this thing on the side. And oh, look, I have an idea. I can do X, Y, and Z, and that won't even fix everything, but that at least take 10% of the debt away. I'm glad I thought of that. Oh, you know what? Maybe I should be grateful for that. Maybe that will get something going. Okay, now maybe I'm going in the right direction. So there's no perfect thing, but you want to do, just from a place of strategy, keep running your plays. Keep going in that direction, because it's the only way
yeah.
you're going to do it.
That is such a great analogy. I'm going to put that one in my file and keep that one in there. Wow, Andrew, this has been an amazing, amazing time. I could talk to you for hours, but I don't want to keep you. By the way, there's the pennies to millions exercises in there, but you guys have to get the book
Mm.
because we don't have time to talk about it, but it's phenomenal if you guys need to increase your prosperity mindset and manifest money. So I before we close off here, I wanted to ask you, what are you passionate about talking about with all of this? What is the thing that lights you up the most?
Ooh, well, I mean, for me, it's not even about the talking. The thing that lights me up is when people email me and they tell me like how they've used this stuff, and it's all them. They just use this as an excuse. So, I
Right.
mean, that lights me up the most, just in terms of what I talk about. The thing I'd love to share with people from the book is, I love talking about the concept of manifestational raindrops, which, leads a little into the pennies to millions method. But the thing about manifestational raindrops, for people that, I'm sure if you haven't read my book, you've never heard of it, because as best I can determine, I came up with this. So everyone you can probably relate to, being outside on a really cloudy day and feeling that slight little tickle on their skin, maybe on their hand or whatever, a little bit of moisture. And then maybe a couple seconds later or a minute later, who knows, they see like little specks, maybe on a dark jacket or a dark shirt, they can see little drops. And then they see like little splotches on the ground, and they can smell the dew in the air. And before you know it, there's a torrential downpour. And the whole thing about that is the storm was inevitable the second you felt the little tingle in your hand. It wasn't a thing like, is the storm going to be here? It's like, no, that was your first indicator. And I use that in the context of describing manifestational raindrops. Good little minute things that happen that aren't like telling you maybe something's going to work out. They're actually telling you that that storm of abundance is inevitable. And it only becomes a question of like, well, are you going to hold up an umbrella of resistance so that you don't get to enjoy the downpour of the abundance? Or are you going to put the umbrella of resistance down and like take it in? And the way of doing that is you acknowledge each raindrop. You keep that umbrella down and you keep feeling it. So, for example, someone looking for love, that first match on a dating app is a raindrop. That first message is a raindrop. That first date is a raindrop, which, by the way, that might not even be the person that you end up with, but that first date is a raindrop. That first time that you laugh at each other's jokes, the first time you hold hands, the first time you kiss, first time you watch a movie together. These are all raindrops building up that storm of abundance in love or any other part of your life. But the way that you keep the umbrella down is by acknowledging every little bit of good news, no matter how big or small, because what you're doing is you're conditioning your focus to notice these things, which will then enhance the vibration of that and mirror it back to you. Again, I'm a strategy guy. This is all about strategically noticing those raindrops to bring the storm in a like the storm's coming no matter what. But what if you can invite it in a way more dynamic, way more enjoyable way for yourself? And it's all about by acknowledging and really breathing in and taking in all those raindrops, no matter where you are in your life.
This will sound cheesy, but your presence here has been a shower of goodness for me today.
Thank you.
And but that's so profound. I interviewed another law of attraction expert, Susan Ferraro, and she said that something similar, but I just love the way you describe it. But she said, own it. When a manifestation comes, own it, see it, right? Really appreciate it. People are saying, I love this analogy, appreciate every little manifestation. Yeah, for me too, somebody else said. It's so powerful because the mind can have a tendency to be like, oh, well, that was only blah, 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 and it wasn't this,
Yeah.
and so you're expecting more goodness to come, right?
Yeah, and here's a trick your mind loves to do. Oh, if it happened to that person, it would have been even better. Your mind, your ego loves to do that.
Yeah,
Love to find
for
anything to do. And
sure.
you quickly,
Yeah.
I try whenever I remember that who I got it from, I'll credit them. I'll credit Rhonda Byrne. I learned this from her. Every day when I go through things I'm grateful for, I always say, and thank you for the good news. And good news comes every day. Sometimes it's really good news. Sometimes it's sort of good news. And sometimes I don't even find out about the good news until the next day. But it's not like before I go to bed, like, did I get my good news today? Like, no, I don't care. I'm grateful for the good news and it keeps coming. And I don't worry about how good it's going to be, how dramatic. I just keep enjoying it. I keep enjoying the ride because I know that that's the best way to do it. And, credits to Rhonda Byrne. I think she mentioned that in her book, The Magic. Whatever gratitude list anyone out there goes through, make sure to include thank you for the good news. And one that I like to do is I say thank you for the pleasant surprises coming in the week and month and year ahead. So I'm also paving the way for myself.
So powerful, Andrew. Oh my gosh, this just blew me away. Your book, okay, so I know it's backward, but it's called The Last Law of Attraction Book You'll Ever Need to Read. I've read over 300, who knows how many books I've read. I read a book a week. This is by far one of the best I've ever come across.
Thank you.
In this area and in a lot of different areas. So Andrew, how can they get your book and go maybe take some of your programs? I know you have some programs out where people can really take a deep dive into this material. How can they access that?
Yeah, two easy links. One is lastlawofattractionbook.com, and that'll auto forward to the Amazon listing where you can get it in Kindle or paperback or audiobook if you want. But if you don't want to pull out your wallet, that's cool. You can go to youtube.com/Andrew Cap, my free channel. And, I can go into like, my 90-day program on those videos and things of that nature. I would say start with the book or the YouTube channel, because only if I'm your cup of tea, only if you're comfortable with the way I articulate the information, would you even want to worry about like the 90-day program or anything like that. So I'd say start with the easy, small stuff. It's $4 on Kindle, so I make it nice and affordable. And whether you pull your wallet out or you check out YouTube, really, it's just my sincere intention that you get something out of the content and that you give yourself permission to implement and use it and invite better things for yourself.
Absolutely. And this is what I do when I find a book I love. Buy 3 copies, give it to somebody who's struggling, give it to a friend. Use it as a birthday gift. I love to give people information instead of things, because this will last lifetimes and things don't. So, oh my gosh, super honoring you and who you are and what you've brought to us. I'm so grateful for this time. Is life transforming. And I look forward to I'm following you on YouTube, but I look forward to seeing all your great stuff that's on there. So guys, go to his YouTube channel as well. And this has been a pleasure. It's a shower of goodness, like I
Thank you so
said.
much for having me, Tish. I loved your questions, and there's a couple of things I've said that I've never said before. So thank you for drawing that out of me with the sincere intention of your questions. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Same here. And I visualized us like up leveling the energies, and I totally felt like that happened.
Oh,
So
without a
I'm
doubt.
very appreciative. Yeah. All right, everyone. Bye. Have a wonderful day. Thank you, Andrew. We'll be talking soon. Bye.
Bye.